He's like, fuck that shit. I know my place, and it's stabbing people in the eye. Hey, readers, writers, and story lovers. My name is Hannah. I publish as H.S. Paisley, and today we're talking about season 2 of The Witcher. I have realized since finishing episode 8 that there was a post-credit scene. I saw that in a review, so I thought I would watch the post-credit scene and then give you my thoughts episode by episode on the entire season. Also, I don't usually wear this much makeup on the channel, but I've had to self-isolate here in Ottawa because Ottawa public health is next level right now, and I got a little bored and wanted to play dress up. So anyways, let's jump in and see what this little post-credit scene here is. I also think, like, review-wise, this is just getting you guys my thoughts faster, but I'm gonna be quite repetitive. If you do enjoy watching my reactions, then a lot of the stuff that I talk about at the end of every episode is gonna be just kind of repeated here, but with the scope of the entire season. So remember, spoilers. This has spoilers. Also, before I jump into watching this little post-credits scene, I am a self-published author. 2 of my novels are already out, Magic Required and Dominion Required, both available as audiobooks, ebooks, or paperbacks. And if you would like Magic Required as an audiobook for free, you can sign up to be a part of the street team for my next book, Blood, Kin, and Curses, which is coming out in the late spring. There's a Google form in the description. Basically, being a part of the street team, you get a free audiobook of Magic Required, you get a free copy of Blood, Kin, and Curses, and you help me promote my novel. If that's interesting to you at all, please fill out the Google form. It really helps me as an independent author to have other people helping me publicize my book and making sure that Blood, Kin, and Curses has the best launch it can. All right, let's find this post-credit thing here.
We to worry about nothing.
Oh, hey, I know her.
We can let it burn.
I like this remix of Ellie Goulding as well. Ooh, I have goosebumps. Ah!
And we're gonna let it burn.
Cool. Okay, so for copyright reasons, that would have been really choppy, but I'm actually gonna add the full version of that to the end of my episode 8 unedited version. Editor Hannah here. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope 2022 brings you everything you need and at least a little bit of what you want as well. I just wanted to warn you guys and apologize to those who watch my reactions that my reaction videos for episode, I think 4 and 5 is very low quality. I made a mistake when I was playing with the settings of my camera and how I have my camera set up. Like, I didn't notice that the video was a little bit blurry, so it basically looks like it's a home video shot in the 90s. I did my best to try and clear up the blur, but there's not a ton you can do. I'm gonna post them anyways. I just wanted to warn you guys and wish you all a happy new year. So this season on a whole, like, I loved it. I really loved it. I had a great time. At the end of episode 6, I was actually quite skeptical about how they were gonna wrap up all of these storylines in just 2 episodes. And at the end of episode 7, I was like, I take it all back. I love this. Also, as a side note, look at this. My sister made this for me for Christmas. Isn't it great? Hufflepuff. Anyways, so let's talk about this episode by episode, starting with episode 1, A Grain of Truth. So seeing this episode, like, not too long after I read the books was fun because I knew these characters, I remembered them pretty well, and this, like, kind of Beauty and the Beast-ish take was cool. It was fun, and I actually had one commenter, because this is episode 1 is the only video I've released already. In the comment section of that, some people were talking about how disappointed they were in season 2, and also one person said that I was the only reactor they saw who wasn't, like, disgusted by Nivellen's crimes and the reason he was cursed.
For destroying the temple, raping the priestess.
And I don't know if it's so much that I wasn't disgusted, but, like, I felt sad for him. Somebody does horrible things. It doesn't always mean they are a horrible person. Maybe they were a horrible person for that time, you know? I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting comment that somebody made about my my reaction. But overall, episode 1 I found really fun. I thought Nivellen was funny. The food, like, appearing on the table and all that was, like, kind of true-ish to the spirit of the story in the book. But I think of the whole season, this is the only story that we really get from the book. And I also think that this is why a lot of people who were big fans of the book and fans of the game maybe didn't like season 2. And for me, that was mainly like, get over yourself. But I do understand, because the first time I watched the Harry Potter movies, I hated them. I hated them so much because I wanted a word-for-word adaptation of the book. And that's not what I got. And since then, I've kind of realized, like, if I want to enjoy something, that's not how it's going to be. It's going to be inspired by the characters of this book, which is what this show is based on. The book, not the games. Guys, the book, but okay. Remain calm. That I have to kind of let go of that. I enjoyed seeing Yennefer and Fringilla together and how, like, that kind of built what their relationship was like at Aretuza. And I do feel like Nivellen of the show is a little more, I don't know if ruthless is the right word, but in the books, if I'm remembering correctly, an entire town didn't die. The Brookside I thought was done really well. She was super creepy. Her big eyes, the way she moved, nailed it. Episode 2, Kaer Morhen, that's right. We start off with Yennefer having a crazy baby dream and then waking up being captured by elves. I was really hopeful to learn a lot about the elves, and towards the end of the season, I just realized, like, that's not the story that's being told here. Like, I want to know more about the history of this world, and maybe that's what this new series is going to show me, right? It's not going to be in this because that's not the focus of The Witcher. I don't know why, but Filavandrel and Francesca, I forgot their relationship so many times throughout the show. Like, I didn't realize that they were a couple so much. Like, I would learn it and then I'd immediately forget. And I think that's because their chemistry wasn't great, and I just didn't care about their relationship at all. I loved seeing Geralt and Ciri arrive at Kaer Morhen and see the other Witchers kind of get a feel for how they were. And generally over this episode and the next few, watching Ciri train, watching her relationship with the other Witchers grow was really, really fun. And I almost wish we had more of that. Just like last season, I feel like there's things in this season that were rushed, and I would have been happy if they were slower. Especially since the climax, or the climax-ish, of episode 8 is about the Witchers trying to reach Ciri because of the connection they had. I would have liked to see more of that connection be built. But in 8 episodes, I don't know how much time you get. I remember the name Eskel and I can't remember why, so maybe he was in the books or I saw him in a game trailer or something. His whole story arc of, like, kind of being infected by one of these monsters was interesting, and I don't know if I watched this too quickly or if, again, there was just not enough time for this storyline to get the time it deserved, because I think this happening later in the season, maybe when Eskel has formed a relationship with Ciri, might have made it hurt more, you know, like more impactful when he died, as opposed to it just being impactful for Vesemir. There was one scene with Yennefer, Fringilla, and Filavandrel that I really liked, where they almost, like, convince him to let them free, and he gets called away, and he just has this moment of saying, like, close.
Very close.
I don't know why I loved that. I really remember that scene and I loved it. With Francesca, Yennefer, and Fringilla all being, like, reached by this creepy lady in a hut, I thought was confusing. I'll have to rewatch and reassess how I feel about the introduction of the Dark Mother, right? That's who she was. And how that plays out throughout the season. Also the idea that, like, Yennefer lost her magic because fire magic is forbidden. I don't really love how that played out. Maybe it will be expanded on next season. By the end of the season, I kind of wanted it to be like that Lucifer, you get what you think you deserve kind of idea. Because there was a mage using fire magic who wasn't punished for it. So why did she lose her magic? Is it because she felt she deserved to lose her magic, and only when she saved Ciri at the end did she feel she deserved to have it back? And that was never really said. Maybe, as I said, it'll be expanded on. I thought that could have been handled differently, better. I would have liked it if it was more clear why she lost her magic and how she got it back, as opposed to because reasons. Overall, I did like Yennefer a lot more in this season, and I think it's because last season she was so driven by her desire to have a child. And to me, watching the show before having read the books, before knowing what the history was, like, in the show, she's the only one who changed her appearance. They never explicitly say that she's gonna get killed if she doesn't, and she chose to do this, and she knew what she was giving up, and then she was pissed at the world for the choice that she herself had made. And I just really didn't like that. This season, it has a similar theme in terms of her wanting something, but she didn't knowingly give it up, and I guess I also wanted her to get it back. Episode 3, What is Lost? This is the episode where we start to get a bit more of the training montage of Ciri and her building a relationship with the Witchers. And I loved this episode. I loved seeing anything with Ciri training or Ciri and the Witchers or anything with the Witchers. I loved it. We see a bit of the Brotherhood, Tisea, Istrid, and I just hate Stragobor so much. Why does anybody keep this guy around? Can we lose him? Yennefer shows up, everybody thinks she's dead. Tisea, woohoo, now knows she's alive. And one thing that drove me crazy, like I'm trying to go episode by episode, guys, but I'm just telling you my thoughts as they're coming to me, is how long it took for Geralt to learn that Yennefer was alive. I hated that. I hoped throughout watching it that there was going to be a reason for this slow reveal, and there was no reason behind it. Frangilla and Francesca forming their little alliance was cool. It was nice to see, but also Nilfgaard's like kind of cray, and the elves weren't really expanded on very much. I felt this a lot in season 1 as well, that the elves were just such a background element to the world, but I don't really know if there was enough time to give them more in 8 episodes. I think last season 2, I thought there should be 10 episodes. I mean, this season there very well could have been 10. They had way more money this season. You see, the wigs and the contacts were way better. Except Triss's wig, which was stupid. Watching Ciri go through this course thing and getting knocked off over and over again and all the Witchers cheering for her, oh man, it got me fired up. I love that scene. It got me fired up. The idea of these monsters chasing Ciri because she broke the monolith. Sometimes I feel dumb when I talk to you guys about shows because it took a while for me to like really process all that. And again, I think this is going to be better on a rewatch. Honestly, just like season 1, I definitely said this in the review of my second book of The Witcher. I'm pretty sure I'm going to say this multiple times if you watch my reactions over the next several weeks, but I really enjoyed the timeline jumps in season 1. And I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I really, really liked it. And I think I liked it so much because it makes you like earn the rewatch. The rewatch on season 1 is next level because you understand the time jumps and it's like watching a different show. I loved it. I wanted that again. I wanted to be able to go back to the beginning, rewatch season 2 and see so many different things, which maybe I still will because sometimes I'm a bit of a space cadet. I did miss that element in this season. I didn't particularly understand the Brotherhood's relationship with Yennefer and this Feather Knight guy and how her killing him was going to show her loyalty to them. Doesn't really make any sense to me, like why that would make sense to them, but whatever. She frees him and they ride off into the sunset together. I really thought that was leading to a redemption arc for him, and I don't even know if it did. One thing that I really like about this show, which I think kind of parallels Arcane a little bit, is that like it's really hard to tell who the good guys are, and it's really hard to tell, maybe not who the good guys are because, like Frangilla, good guy, bad guy. I mean, kind of bad guy, ruthless, heart and the right reasons for the elves. Tough to tell. I mean, there are definitely characters that I root for, but anyways, I do enjoy that, and it is challenging for my marshmallow heart. Episode 4, Redanian Intelligence. We see more of Triss and her stupid wig. Oh my gosh. I go on a rant when we first see her, I think in this episode, but maybe in an earlier episode too if you watch my reactions, and I'll give you the recap of the rant. I hate when creators bow to critics. Do what you're gonna do. Don't do it because the fans want it a way or another way. Like, stick to your guns. Especially when it comes to racist fans. If the people who created this show decided to change the color of her hair slightly for this season, I would have no issue. My issue is that they changed the texture of her hair. They tried to make her look more white. And to me, that's bowing to the racist fans. And that is disgusting. I just feel like, shame on you. People at the show who made this decision to make Triss more white, to make racist white people more comfortable, shame on you. We see a bit more of the elves in this episode. We see the Feathery Knight and Yennefer trying to evade capture, and we meet some new players. Owl Lady, King, and this guy from Outlander. They added an element that, like, I don't even know was needed. They are another kingdom trying to claim Sintra, and their storyline made me think that season 2 is doing a lot of setup for season 3. For the most part, they bored me and I don't care about them at all. Yennefer and the Feathery Knight hook up with a couple elves to try and get to the Piper, the Sandpiper. And I swear to God, this guy was in the Halo trailer. I still haven't checked, so I'll check as I'm editing this video, but I swear to God, this is the guy from the Halo trailer, right? Heartbreaking to watch potential Halo trailer guy die and the guy who was traveling with him run for his life but then sacrifice himself later. Like, that was just a great in the feels. It was a great in the feels. We get a bit more of a look of Ciri's relationships with the monoliths in this episode. Her, Triss, and Geralt kind of have their little chit-chatty moment-ish thing. And in this episode, finally, we see my favorite character of the show.
What for ya?
I kind of forgot how things left off in season 1 with Jaskier, Yennefer, and Geralt's relationship. So that took me a bit of time to catch up on. I really should have rewatched season 1 before I watched season 2, but alas, I did not. But Yennefer and Julian's like meet-up hug thing. Oh, so cute. And in this episode, I will give this to the showrunner, creator people. This scene...
although, if you don't mind me saying so, that one, it's not your strongest.
Oh, yeah?
A bit complicated. It took me to the 4th verse to understand there were different timelines.
I loved it. Very tongue-in-cheek to the audience who was complaining about things in first season. This is also the episode where we learn that Ciri has elder blood, or at least more characters in the show learn this, and I thought the setup for this was done really well with the flowers only blooming where elder blood had been spilled. I also really enjoyed when Ciri learns this and she kind of puts it together. I've been training there, and I just thought it was done really well. I really like this moment where Geralt is portaled to Istrid and is kind of sick. I thought that was so cute and humanizing. Episode 5, Turn Your Back. Here is when we meet this random fire mage and a random lady who we never learn who their boss is in the entire season. And is it the White Flame? Did I miss who it was? Again, I have to rewatch. Episode 5, starting with a bit of like a backwards time jump, seeing a few things from another character's perspective, I thought was super weird and like almost condescending because it was unnecessary for them to start there. They could have started with this scene.
Hello?
But also, it was so blatantly obvious that they had gone back a little bit. Like, they kept cueing us, like they had to take our hand and walk us slowly through what was doing. I felt like almost this was another jab at people who were saying the timelines in season 1 were hard to follow. Like, they were supposed to be hard to follow, guys. Watch the show twice, and the second time it's a different show, no? Istrid and Geralt seeing each other, and this being the second time that Geralt interacted with somebody who knows Yennefer's alive and him not figuring out, Triss being the first, was extremely frustrating to me. I felt there was no purpose in him not learning from Istrid that Yennefer was alive. I mean, he could have learned it from Triss too. I don't think it would have changed the show at all. It wouldn't have changed the moment where they saw each other again. The only thing it would have changed is it would have forced Geralt to make a decision between Yennefer and Ciri, and him choosing Ciri would have then shown us, the audience, more of their bond, which was something that I found quite lacking in this show. They kept telling me that Geralt and Ciri were so connected instead of showing me, because they didn't really have the time. And I think Geralt having a hard time deciding between Yennefer and Ciri but choosing his duty to Ciri would have helped further like my understanding of their relationship. Yenny going back to save Jaskier, Julian, Dandelion. Great. I love that scene. I thought it was a lot of fun. We also learned in this episode that Ciri's blood can help make more witchers, which do we want? Is that a good thing? Like, so many people die becoming witchers. Do we want more witchers to be made? And I also wonder, is there a better way to make witchers? Because in Nightmare of the Wolf, we see trials that they go through that they really didn't need to go through. I also appreciate Ciri's desire to become a witcher and be able to protect herself, and I understand everybody's hesitation around that. Like, I thought that was done really well, and I felt a lot throughout. Ciri trying to convince Vesemir to allow her to do this, and Vesemir not being very sure, and then when Geralt shows up being upset about it, like, all of that I really liked. And at the end of this episode, we have Yennefer submitting to the creepy lady in the hut and basically saying she's gonna do what she wants to get her magic back. This I felt was like great. Would have been better if I understood more about the creepy lady in the hut, but I also don't know if it was intentional that I didn't know, because I do feel like this show makes you work for stuff, which I appreciate, which is why I think I really enjoyed season 1 with the timelines, because you really had to work for it. Episode 6, Dear Friend. The fire guy is chasing down Ciri, goes to Kaer Morhen, has a little fight with Vesemir, and if he died, I would have been so pissed. Roach dies, heartbreaking, and we see a bit more of Francesca and Fringilla's relationship, which again, like, cool, but also I don't really care. The Feather Knight has a clean shave, and Dara, who we saw recruited by the Owl and Outlander man, is back in the show, which is cool. I did actually really appreciate seeing more characters from season 1. Like, why were you guys there if you weren't showing up again? And this happened with these guys, and it happened with the dwarves later on, and I really, really enjoyed these callbacks. I can't quite remember if it was in this episode that Francesca told Fringilla she was smaller when the Feather Knight was around, and I thought that was really interesting and a great character moment for Fringilla, because that's, I think, the first time that she also had to reckon with that, which later leads to her freeze everybody and stab you slowly in the eye scene, which was brutal. And we meet Ninika. I said Nanika in my head when I was reading the book, but I think in the show they say Ninika. I love her. I love this actor. I think she does a great job. She was in Bridgerton, I think, was the last place I saw her, and I thought she was cast really well. I really liked everything that was happening here. This is the episode where Istrid meets Codringer and Fen, right? Is that their names? And I loved them. They really gave me Miracle Max and Valerie vibes, and I had a great time. I wish they were in the show more, and I hope we get to see them more next season. We also have the reuniting of Geralt and Yennefer, which would have made absolutely no difference if Geralt knew she was alive. I really think this scene could have played out exactly the same if from the time he saw Triss or from the time he saw Istrid, he knew Yennefer was alive, but also knew that he couldn't go to her. I think that this scene would have been exactly the same. Then we have Feather Knight really just being a weirdo with Dara and the elves. Like, you want these people to be loyal, but you're being a douche to them? Like, I don't get it. Yo, the way Geralt is looking at Yennefer in this scene. Where can I find that? I want that. I want somebody to look at me like that. I want Geralt of Rivia to look at me like that. And an elven baby is born. The hope of the elves rallied around this child, which, like, I should have known. I should have known what was going to happen to this baby, but I didn't. I didn't see it coming. I really loved the mistranslation aspect of the prophecy or legend or whatever about Ciri.
The elves didn't build a weapon. They built a warrior.
I really love this idea of mistranslation in historical texts because it shows us things in a whole new light. And one in particular is I saw a TikTok video a while ago saying that in the English Christian Bible, it starts with in the beginning. But in Hebrew, it's in a beginning, which totally changes the entire meaning of literally everything that comes after it. I love that kind of re-examining of history in a different lens. Element of Ciri being prophesized as a weapon or being prophesized as a warrior. And I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it now. I'm also kind of cold. Maybe that's why I'll put on my Hufflepuff sweater. All the cool kids are in Hufflepuff, guys, just so you know. And then the fire guy comes and tries to get Ciri. Geralt fights them off with a fight scene that I super enjoyed, and Yennefer teaches Ciri how to portal. Episode 7, Volithmir? We, the audience, learn that Yennefer is now using Ciri for her own means, though Ciri and Geralt are not sure of this yet. We also see these two, who I could not care less about. I cared so little about their relationship. I felt no chemistry between the two of them, and I didn't care about this guy at all. I hate him. Also, I feel like at the end of season 1, didn't he do something kind of evil and it's just never been addressed? Did I imagine that? Like, he killed somebody on his own side, right? And we never know why. My guy, Julian,
Throw away the key!
is locked up singing some songs with his rat companions, and I just adored every second of this scene. I loved it. I also loved, like, the Geralt rescue, the reunion, although I do think it took Geralt way too long to apologize to him, but I really liked it because their friendship friendship in the book was something that I just thought was so great. We also get the elves changing their mind a little bit about where their allegiances lie because of this new elven baby. I also don't know if I missed if it was implied or if I was supposed to assume that it's hard for elves to conceive, so an elven baby is like big time. Not sure, but that's the impression that I got. They no longer want to fight with Nilfgaard. They want to go off on their own, which, like, I get it. I also don't really understand how Fringilla didn't see this coming, and I don't really understand how Filavandrel and Francesca thought that they were going to be able to just leave, you know? Like, I definitely don't think what happened to them, they deserved it by any means. I just don't think that telling Fringilla they were abandoning the Nilfgaard cause was the wise thing to do, even if they did inevitably plan to do that. And I feel like they should have been smart enough to know that. And we see the fire guy who has stolen Ciri's blood in the potion that was gonna make her a witcher, make somebody else a witcher or whatever, and his like creepy lady. And then she like burns her face off, and I just feel like they were set up. They were also, just like the Owl and Outlander Man, they were all set up for next season. Geralt then gets wise to the fact that Yennefer maybe is not gonna be the nicest person in the world to Ciri, and we meet up with the dwarves from the dragon episode in season 1, which I thought was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed seeing them. Ciri tries and fails to use her powers, and then uses them in a completely different way that gets them where they need to go. And this is the moment where Yennefer kind of changes her mind about her purpose, which I guess is what she is looking for from the very beginning of the show. Like, her whole character is about finding purpose. So Yennefer realizes that she can be fulfilled in other ways than having a child of her own and having magic of her own. But too little, too late, the secret is out. Geralt is trying to catch up with them. He is not the only one. This other guy, who I forget his name, who I don't care about at all, also wants Ciri, and he screams at Tisea.
I wouldn't ask you to if it wasn't necessary!
Back up, bitch! We see Fringilla approach her uncle for aid, getting out of Nilfgaard, and I think this is like the second moment. The first one being when Francesca told her she's smaller around the feathery night, and this moment where her uncle kind of tells her that, like, you're one of the ones who know your place. She's like, fuck that shit. I know my place. And it's stabbing people in the eye. We get Dara quitting his spy work, Fringilla stabbing people in the eye, and Ciri and Yennefer's relationship breaking apart. I really loved this scene where Geralt has Yennefer at the end of his blade saying that Ciri is his, and I can imagine why he's feeling this way, because the writers told me, but again, they didn't show me. And I don't think the passage of time is shown very well in this show at all. I actually think it was done better in first season once you like maybe watch it a second time or realize the timelines, because it shows the length of time between when characters have seen each other. But in this season, I thought all of the relationships were rushed, and I really had to mentally stretch out the time between episodes and just decide that it was a long time between episodes, because the way he is so protective of Ciri, even though for so long he was avoiding her, like, I wanted to see more of that. And again, I think that could have been shown to me by him actively choosing Ciri over Yennefer already in this season when he would have learned she was alive. Then this would have been the second time he's choosing Ciri over Yennefer, and it just would have felt more believable to me. Not that it wasn't believable, I wanted to feel more of this scene. It was such a great scene, and I think it could have been just a bit better. And then the elf baby is dead, and the Baba Yaga creepy dark mother gets out, and her house has chicken legs. Geralt and Yennefer try and magic their way to her, but she already gets out and infects Ciri. At this point, I was so in. I loved every single thing about this show at that moment. Like, at the beginning of the episode, I was skeptical, but they covered so much that I really was just on the edge of my seat to get to the finale. Episode 8, Family. Evil Ciri dummying all these witchers in their sleep. I don't know. I mean, the chicken leg Baba Yaga, she isn't a monster, so she wouldn't have set off their medallions, right? Because she's just magic. But like, didn't the fire guys set off their medallions? So I'm not really clear on how she got so in. And I think that you can say like, because she's in Siri, because Siri's so powerful, because reasons, but I didn't like it. I think I would have preferred this, like them not being killed in their sleep, some actual conflict happening, and seeing the characters interact with Siri, thinking she's herself, and then like seeing the betrayal when they see her kill them, you know? Or something to just show the bond a bit more. That said, I was still fucking heartbroken. Every time she killed one of them, I was so sad because there are not that many of them left. And do we want more? I don't know. Francesca going on her killing all babies rampage, I thought was a little extreme, but okay. I, again, feel like there's a lot of setup happening in this season. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to say about that. Like Dara coming clean to her saying it wasn't his fault, which is like great. I, at that moment, was like, wow, she is really putting her rage in the right spot. And then she just went and killed a bunch of babies, which I don't really get. I guess because they're human, she just hates all humans and wants them to suffer. So, okay. Maybe go to therapy. Yennefer is trying to create some kind of potion to help free Ciri because she has no magic, and all this time Ciri is locked in her own mind. We get to see Mousak again, we get to see the grandma again, we don't get to see the step-grandfather because I guess they couldn't get him back for this episode. And we get a reminder of what Ciri's parents look like. I wonder why. Feathery Knight has to be in cahoots with Fringilla or she'll stab him in the eye! And tells her to take credit for killing the elven baby because now, even though they're not wearing Nilfgaardian colors, they're still fighting the people that Nilfgaard wants to fight. Okay, I don't think it's the greatest plan. Fringilla doesn't want to do it. I really feel like she should have gone with her gut since she's been doing that so much already, but she decides to break the character that she's been so far in this show and do what Feathery Knight says. The Witchers corner Baba Yaga Ciri and they have their little showdown here. She brings monsters through and there was a monolith in the medallion tree, or she made a monolith grow in the medallion tree. Either way, I was kind of like, oh man, that's like a historical monument that she just blew up with this tree. Made me really sad. I also felt like Ciri, trapped in her own mind in this fantasy, went on for too long. And the version of Ciri, I don't even know, because like, I'm of two minds. The version of Ciri that we saw, so ruthless, so ready for revenge, so wanting to fight and protect. Would she not have grasped reality faster than she did? Or would she have been so taken in by what was happening because she was so hurt and they went with the latter? I obviously would have preferred the former, but I'm not writing the show and that's fine. I had a great time watching anyways. Watching the Witchers come together and like Geralt kind of realize what was happening and how to reach Ciri was a nice moment, but again, because there wasn't as much time as I think this show could have used in this season, we didn't see so much of the individual relationships built up between Ciri and these other Witchers. Two of them we saw a lot, but the other ones, I don't know, I felt like it could have been more. But it wasn't. Yennefer sacrifices herself to try and save Ciri, to give Chicken Legs Baba Yaga another host. Heartbreakingly, we see Grandma Mousak and Ciri's parents disintegrate. Ciri comes back to Geralt and Yennefer, portals them to potentially another realm. We get a quick glimpse at the Wild Hunt, and then we're back in Kaer Morhen. From here, things wrap up pretty quickly. We see that the Brotherhood is now after Ciri as well. We see the Firefucker and his crazy burned up girlfriend meeting their mystery benefactor. Istrid going to the elves, telling them that Ciri is the warrior they've been waiting for. Outlander guy's owl turning into a pretty lady. Yennefer agreeing to help Ciri control her magic, and the big twist. This twist, like, I definitely only saw it when the writers wanted me to see it. Like when Geralt said,
How do they know the truth about you, Ciri?
It's like, oh, okay, now I know who it is. I think that that's the moment the writers wanted me to know. Like, I don't think the writers actually expected people who were paying attention to not realize that the White Flame is Ciri's father until he turns around. I liked that, I guess. I feel like it gives me a lot of questions, and I'm ready for season 3. But, I mean, okay. I didn't care. Honestly, I didn't care that much. Like, that's not the thing that I care about. I want to see more of Ciri learning to control her magic. I want to know what's going to happen with the Witchers. I want to see how Yennefer and Ciri's relationship develops, and Geralt and Julian and Vesemir. I care about Kaer Morhen. I care about the Witchers. That's what I want to know about. Less so about the other stuff, but overall, I really enjoyed this season. Like with Arcane, I think my relationship to this show and these characters are cleaner, maybe? More unbiased? or differently biased, I guess, than people who have played the games and read the books. This is a long review. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, when my reaction videos go up, there will be unedited versions on my website, hspaisley.com/uncut. You can find that link in the description, as well as links of where you can buy my books, Magic Required or Dominion Required. And of course, please fill out the Google form if you are interested in being part of the street team for Blood, Kin, and Curses. I hope you guys are all happy, healthy, taking care of yourselves and each other, being friends instead. That's always easier when you're hydrated, so go get some water, because you're probably dehydrated.